The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, Maddie, I'm going to start talking, so you just relax over there, okay? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good Monday, as best as a Monday could possibly be. Today we wanted to be talking about creating instructional manuals and videos using our Inventor software. So every once in a while I'll get some questions about some good workflows to create instruction manuals, whether we're talking about assembling or disassembling our products, maybe even doing maintenance, and even videos too. So there's good, effective ways in creating instructions within the Inventor software. So a couple introductions here to get us started. My name is Jared Bowser. I'm sure met most of you, or you've seen me on these webinars before, but I'm a senior application engineer here at Mesa. Been with Mesa for 11 years. You can see some breakdowns there on the left as far as what I've been doing for those 11 years. And as always, on the right-hand side, you can see a picture of my beautiful family. The picture's about 6 months old now, so now that Christmas is coming up, I think we need to get some new family pictures taken. So stay tuned next year for some new family pictures. Okay, so wanted to take a look at three main areas of creating some instructional sets within Inventor. The first step is going to be all about the setup. So we have our model built, our assembly built. Well, now what we want to do is we want to take that model and we want to get it set up using positional representations and levels of details that are going to help us on the drawing or the manual, the paper product side, and the video side for creating instructions. From there, we are going to take a look at using the drawing environment in Inventor to create instruction manuals. You'll see some things that I did there to get us set up with. And we also want to take a look at the setup for creating instructional videos. We're going to be doing that in the Inventor Studio environment. So we'll take a look at that type of workflow when we get there. I'm going to switch over to my Inventor software. Not going to spend a whole lot of time in PowerPoint today. I'm going to be spending pretty much all of our time in Inventor itself. So we're going to be taking a look over here. So the first thing I need to do is switch over to the Vault, and I need to open up my project that I'm working on. Let's go ahead and check that out. And we're going along for the ride there. All right, let me take a look here and make sure I got everything. I'm going to grab it all just in case. Just in case. All right, so we got everything out of the Vault. So we're taking a look at this grill that I built. And what we're going to be taking a look at here, like I said already, is creating a set of instructions in order to assemble mainly the top half of this. I didn't go through the entire product, but really just wanted to take a look at the lid assembly. So one of the main considerations that we need to put into this is when we're building our assembly, setting it up for success. So if I know I'm going to be creating an instruction manual, I want to use those considerations in building my constraints for my assembly. Hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about there as we go through and you see me creating some of these positional representations and the level of details that we're going to need. So the first thing we want to take a look at is over in the browser. I'm going to expand my representations and I'm going to create a new positional representation. So this new positional representation, I'm going to number these and I'm going to name these. So this one is going to be called remove lid. Step 1 is remove the lid. And from remove lid, I'm going to expand my lid part, and I'm going to see the two constraints underneath the lid. So the one I'm looking at is really the insert 3, and that's the lid sitting down on the base. I'm going to go through a little process here to rename some of these constraints as I go. A couple of them are already done. I'm going to rename a few of them as I go. The idea here is that we want to set up for success, but make it this easier for us and help us to see and understand what exactly is going on. So I'm going to call this one. Clicked a little bit too fast there. Did a slow double click, which basically is click once, pause for a second, and then click again, and it'll allow you to rename. We do that all the time on accident. Now we get to actually try to do it on purpose here. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it something simple, lid offset. Now I am still in my positional representation, as you can see up here. So I'm going to right click on lid offset and select the override. And that's going to allow me to input a value of 18 inches. And accidentally cancel it. 18 inches. We'll try that again. There we go. So if you are unfamiliar with what a positional representation is, I just want to take a little review of that with you. So you can see over here in my browser that I'm set up with my positional representation. I have the master, and I have step 1 that I just created called remove lid. I'm going to switch back over to master, and you can see that constraint is no longer overwritten. So the positional representation is simply going to allow me to create different positions of my assembly. These have a few really nice uses, including on the drawing side. This one's a little bit newer workflow for me as far as using it to create instructional sets. So maybe it's new for you guys too. So we'll walk through this some more. So that's the first one. That was pretty easy. I'm going to right click on number 1, and I'm going to select the copy option. That's actually going to create an exact duplicate. I'm going to activate it, and I'm going to rename it, and we'll call this one remove grates. Step 2, remove grates. I'm going to find my large and my small grate. I'm going to change the name of the constraint that I'm interested in. What is this one? This is the large grate. Large grate offset. And this one will be the small grate offset. And we're going to override those. These ones I'm going to actually just subtract 12 inches. Override that one as well, and subtract 12 inches off of that. So taking a look at our model, we can see that we now have our setup of positional representations. Again, just a little bit of a review for the positional representations. If I go back to step 1, that puts the grates back in place. If I go back to the master or a closed positional rep, everything's back together. So we'll move back to 2. I'm going to do another copy. Activate that one. Step 3 is going to be removing the vent and handles. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And I'm going to find my vent piece. My insert 4 is the one that I'm looking at. I'm going to rename that one to vent offset. And I'm going to override that with a value of 6 inches. That'll take the vent and the handle with it. So you can see right there with the constraint setup that I have, the handle is actually attached to the vent. And I did that just to make sure that when I did offset that vent, the handle is going to come along for the ride. That helped me out in my demo setup. Again, setting up your constraints in a way that makes sense for assembling and disassembling is a key factor here. All right, let's do another one here. We're going to copy that one. Step 4 is going to be called the handle assembly. And we got a couple steps to do in this one. So I'm going to go down to my handle first. And I'm going to find my handle offset constraint. I already renamed a couple of these down here. And this one we're going to override with a value of 6 inches. I'm sorry, it's actually going to be negative 6 inches. That way it goes up like it's supposed to. I'm going to find the screw that's holding all these pieces together. That's my insert 5. We'll call that one screw offset. We'll override that one to be 4 inches. These numbers, these are really just numbers that look good. There's no real magic in these numbers. I actually tweaked a couple of them as I went through just to make sure everything looked good in the demo setup. Alright, let's find the lower handle, the lower part of the grip. And I'm going to take this constraint and I'm going to override this one 6 inches. That'll put it down. I'm going to take the top offset. I'm going to override that one 8 inches. I'll bring it up. And then I want to do another override for the left to right value, and we'll make that one negative 8. So you can see my disassembled handle up top. So as of right now, everything looks pretty much the way I want it to look as far as my positional representations. Again, just to cycle back through those, if I go back to the master, we take the lid off, we bring the grates out, we take the handle and the vent up, and then the handle assembly itself is going to break up there in our final step. One thing that I do want to do, or that I do want to consider, is when I get to the actual instruction sheets, the document that I'm going to create to print out with this design. Think about whenever you go buy a grill at the store and you get that instruction manual with it. That's what we're really setting up to design here. I want to be able to control some suppression of parts. So when I'm building the handle, for example, I want to turn the visibility of everything else off on my instruction sheets. So I'm going to include in here some levels of detail to go along with this. So I'm going to create a new level of detail. And this one is going to be, I'm actually going to use the same names as my positional rep. And this handle assembly, so I'm going to do a selection of all the parts to make up the handle assembly. I'm then going to come up here to my filter selection option, my component priority. I'm going to invert the selection, and I'm going to suppress all of that. So that's just going to leave me with just the parts that make up my handle. Let me go ahead and save that. If you work with level of details, you are familiar that you have to save and save often. That message box was simply letting me know that in order to save, it really wants it to be back in a master positional representation, which is fine. You simply just click yes for that. So I have my master level of detail with everything turned on. I have my number 4, my step 4 handle assembly there. And I can go to step 4 handle assembly and see all that broken up, just those parts turned on. I want to do one more of those. I was going to go back to master. Actually, I want to go to remove vent and handles with the master level of detail turned on. And on this one, I'm going to take just the lid and all the parts that make up the lid. I'm going to flip the selection there. Wrong area. I want to invert the selection. And I want to suppress all those things. So you see that's going to create a level of detail 1 for me. Let's take this back to master. Level of detail 1 is still active, so whenever I hit save, it's going to ask me what I want to name it. We'll call that step 3, remove vent and handles. Okay. Make sure we save that, save and save often, especially the level of details. And switching back and forth between my level of details to make sure they all work. Of course, I still have my positional representations that are still good to go there. Okay. So we got a pretty good setup there as far as the assembly side goes. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to go through the process of doing the bottom half of this design. I really just want to focus on the lid and the grate portion. So let me go ahead and save again. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a drawing view. So what I did beforehand was I created a custom template that I'm going to use for my instruction manuals. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to click OK. I have some prompted entry here. So the author and the title for this. So we're going to call it Grill Assembly Instructions. And that's going to put me onto my sheet. Let's make this the step 4. We're going to make it the entire exploded view. Make it a little bit bigger there so we can see it. I also want to put it in the shaded view. And I'm going to click OK. We'll take a look at that. We might adjust that scale in a few moments. I'm going to go to my Annotate tab. I'm going to bring in a parts list of this view. And I have a custom instruction manual parts list that I've created as well. That I'm going to drop onto here. And you can see that my custom instruction manual parts list is called included items, and that only includes the item number, the quantity, and the part number. So let me make this view a little bit bigger. Put that completely onto my page there. That all looks good. I have some balloons. I actually created a custom style of balloons in my instruction manual using the part number field. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to show me the part number, which in this case is actually the name of the part itself. So I'm going to drop a few of these onto here. Small grades. Handle. There's my handle grip. There's that handle screw. Let's see if we can fit that guy in there somewhere. Let me tweak this over here. Let's take him out of there. And then we'll put him over here. Change that style, part number. Clean that up a little bit. All right, so there's my sheet 1. Which has my included items on it as well. I do need to go into here and I need to do a little item number sorting. That way everything's in the correct order. Let's add a sheet to this. When I set this up, I left those prompted entries on, which means I have to type in this information every time. But this does allow me to change the title for my individual sheets. So my first sheet that I'm going to work on, since this is going to be in assembly instructions, I'm really going to go in opposite order of what we did on the modeling side. So this one is going to be the handle assembly. Okay. So my sheet 2, you can see it's called handle assembly. Let's go bring in a base view. Let me do an isometric view here. So over in my dialog box now, I can pick out I want step 4 handle assembly, and I want to use the level of detail for handle assembly itself. Looks pretty good there. We'll get that centered up nicely, leaving a little bit of room on top for some text. We'll go ahead and put on some balloons so that everything's called out correctly. Let's add a little bit of text to the top of this. We'll call this handle assembly. New feature in Inventor, being able to put in some numbered lists. So we're going to assemble, what do we call those? Actually, we want to align. Align handle grips onto handle. Assemble with handle screw. Put that information right there. And we have our sheet set up for the most part. One thing I do want to take a look at here is One thing that we don't get that I do like is the ability to set up trails so that you can see exactly where the parts are coming from and going to. So what I can do with that is I can create a sketch right on this sheet, actually right in this view. And then I have the ability to project some geometry, and I'm going to use the sketch only option to project in a couple points here that I'm going to use to sketch in. And I'm actually going to project in both of these edges. This one's going to take a little bit extra thought on this one, but these are sketch only, so I can really do anything I want with that. I'll turn off sketch only. And then I'm going to grab my line tool and connect the dots here. I'm going to come straight down to about there. And I'm going to come over. Okay. I think I forgot one down here. So let's go down a little bit, and then we'll come over here. Should be about right there, and grab that. So pretty straightforward, creating those lines. When I finish that sketch up, you can see I'm only left with the lines. I'm not left with any of that projected geometry that I drew in there. And I can right-click on that line, go to Properties for it, and I can change the line type to be a dash line. That way it looks a little bit better there. Definitely looks like some trails there that we can follow pretty easily. Okay, so there's my second page. Let's add another sheet onto here. And we'll fill out that information again. This one is going to be called the lid assembly. And on this sheet, let's do an isometric view to help us see a little bit better. Let's go with that one and that one. Yeah, I like that. And we can go ahead and place that on. Let's go on to annotate. We're going to add some text to this. We'll call it lid assembly. Step 1 is going to be assemble vent onto lid with supplied hardware. And step 2 will be pretty much the same thing, except extend the handle onto lid with supplied hardware. And from here, let's make this a little bit bigger. I've got some room. With 1 to try 1 to 3. That looks pretty good. Let's add my balloon onto here. Do my callouts. Get my custom balloon. The vent. And then let's do one more of those sketches. Do right click on there. It's not jumping out at me. There it is, start sketch. We'll project in some sketch only stuff. Let's go and project in there to there. And then we'll draw some lines on our sketch only. Missed that one. Let's redraw that in. That looks better. And when we finish that sketch, we could take that line, change the properties, and make that a dash line. And let's finally add one more sheet to this. This will be a quick sheet. Assemble grates and lid. Put on a base view. We'll go with the remove grates option. Level of detail actually looks good because we want to leave everything turned on there. Make this bigger. About like that. That's pretty good like that. For our final sheet, at least for the demo process. So using a combination of positional representations and level of details in order to design and set up your instruction manuals. Now let's go ahead and save this so we don't lose it. And then let's take a look back at our assembly side. So on the assembly side now, what I want to take a look at is on the environments, I'm going to go into Inventor Studio. So Inventor Studio is the main reason why I like to use the positional representations and level of details when doing assembly instruction videos. As many of you are probably aware, there is the Inventor presentation environment, which does a really good job, and actually in many ways is quicker than what I did as far as getting these things set up and creating those exploded views. And that works exceptionally well. My only reservation with that is that it doesn't allow me to use the Inventor Studio environment yet in order to create rendered images or rendered videos. So if I want that high quality video, I'm going to be forced to use the Inventor Studio environment, which is good. I like that, but it's not going to allow me to work with my presentation views. I keep hoping that's something that gets incorporated into the software at some point, but as of right now, it is not. So what we can do over here on the Inventor Studio side, let me turn on my animation timeline. Give this a moment to spin up. I like to expand this right off the start so we can take a look here. So you guys can see we have on our screen, we have the positional representations that we could go with. So we could do a starting with step 4 and ending with step 3. And we could tell that's going to take 5 seconds to do it. And we could set that up for our first one. So if we come back here to the beginning, you can see it's fully exploded. We do another one. And this one we say previous. Make sure it's going to give me the right thing. Yeah, 5 seconds straight. It is Monday, right? We could go from 3 to 2, and that'll take another 5 seconds. That's all right. Let's do this. Let's specify 5.1, and we'll go to 10. That's better. It's always good to give a little bit of a gap. And then finally, we can go from 2 to 1. We'll specify that, and then we'll make that 10.1 to 15. Okay, a couple settings here. We'll make this 15-second long animation. We'll start it back from the very beginning, and we'll go ahead and play it. I forgot one there. I don't know what I forgot. I forgot to go from 1 to 0. 1 to master. And that one we want to go 15.1 to 20. And that probably doesn't like it because I need to set this to 20 first. Need time to work. 1 to master. 15.1 to 20. That's better. And we can replay that to see that work. Okay. So as far as the rendering side goes, on the Inventor Studio side, I'm not going to go into that. I really just want to take a look at some quick and easy setup for creating the videos. Last month, Steve did a really good webinar on setting up cameras in addition to setting up lighting and rendering. So if you missed that one, I did want to make sure that I showed you where that was. If you go out to our website and you go to our webinars tab and you go to past webinars, you could take a look at Steve's introduction to visualization in Inventor. Again, really great webinar he did last month on setting up images and setting up videos, walking you through the steps for lighting, rendering, and getting some really nice outputs. So I'm not going to go through all that again. Like I said, I really just want to take a look at the basics of getting set up using our positional representations that we designed on the Inventor side. Okay. Alrighty. So that's about all I had for you guys today. Let me go back to my PowerPoint because I had a couple closing slides that I wanted to go through. And actually did have a poll for you guys that I forgot to ask at the very beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. This is just basically asking if you're currently creating instructions, whether they are print or video for your products. And if you are or not, okay. All right, so it looks like most of you have. Let's go ahead and share the results there. So we're looking about a little over half of you are doing this with Inventor. 20% of you are doing it with other Autodesk software, and 27 are doing it with non-Autodesk software, and a little under 20% are not creating instruction sheets currently. So hopefully I have shown you guys some useful tools in order to create instructional sheets within Inventor software itself. I'll bring those slides back up there. I like using the positional reps and level of detail. I prefer that because, like I talked about with the presentation environment, you don't get that nice rendering capability you get for the instructional video sides. Some food for thought there. If you're not interested in making videos, then maybe the presentation environment Inventor will work for you for creating those instruction manuals. Again, really nice setup over there and creates those drawing views pretty well. Really well, actually. All right, so a couple last minute slides here that I want to go through. And I always show these last couple slides. This is talking about the Inventor Idea Station. So if you've already heard this before, always good reminder that if you have ideas for Inventor, and this is ideas for tools, for workflows, if you have an idea saying, let us use the presentation environment stuff in combination with Inventor Studio, that's a great idea. I'm actually pretty certain it's already up there. So you can go ahead up to there and simply give it a vote up. That way it gets in front of the developers, and hopefully in one of these new product releases coming up, we'll be able to use our presentation files in the Inventor Studio environment. Always keep an eye on our website for upcoming events, and you can also find our previous webinars that we've done there to take a look back on. And that's all I have for you guys today. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to email those directly to me. I always mention if you have an idea for a webinar, if you have a topic that you'd like to see in webinar form, feel free to shoot that to me in an email as well. And we'll see what we can do to get that on the schedule for you. That's all I got. So thank you guys very much. Have a good rest of your Monday. And I'll talk to you guys soon.